Hi, I'm Randy Altman with postPerspective. We're here at NAB 2017, and this is Babb from Maxon. You had a new release back in September.
Yes.
So maybe you could just talk a little bit about the highlights, but then you use these shows as sort of a platform to get users talking about their projects and their workflows and the tools they use. So maybe you could talk about that as well.
Absolutely. I mean, well, that really comes down to my philosophy is it's much more interesting to see what people do with the paintbrush than what the paintbrush is. So I can talk about Cinema 4D, I can talk about the great features, but it's so much more interesting to see what people are doing with it. And so that's why we bring in, specifically at this show, we bring in a lot of artists to sit down and show people the work they do, show them how they do it, inspire them, even talk about the creative process. And it's really inspiring to people. We've got great crowds watching, and the artists are just showing some incredible work, variety of work, visual effects, motion graphics, fictional user interface, medical animation, all across the board. So we're kind of touching on everything that people might be interested in doing, and then they not only get to see great imagery, get inspired by it, but maybe learn a few new techniques on how to do it.
Mm-hmm. And well, you had your traditional press lunch, and you had people speaking about different projects that they're working on. It was pretty high profile.
That was the who's who of FUI, or
Yeah.
fictional user interface creators. You had Jace, who's worked on Star Wars, Iron Man, Marvel. You had John Lepore from Perception. They've done every Marvel movie you can think of: The Avengers, Batman versus Superman. They've done both DC and Marvel, so they've crossed both worlds. And but they've also they all have crossed into real world, working on HoloLens. Perceptions has worked on automotive interface. So they've all worked on not only future interface, or fictional interface, but future interface that will be actually used. But yeah, that was a great crowd.
And Robin Haddo was there as well. And I know when I interviewed her, she was working for The Flash.
Robin Haddo for years worked on The Flash, and then she just moved over. She just finished working on the new Spider-Man movie. She also worked on The Avengers, and she also worked on HoloLens. And then Lorcan O'Shanahan was the fourth one that we had there, and he's equally got the same type of resume. They are all the top of their game in terms of working on FUI. Really great.
So your product is being used in all aspects of the industry.
Yeah, I mean, our biggest market is definitely motion graphics, broadcasts, especially motion graphics. Pretty much any TV station you're watching, you're seeing cinema work on there, especially in sports with the football helmets crashing together and soccer balls flying through stadiums and that type of work. But ultimately what we're selling is a tool for artists, and those artists also don't just do motion graphics. They'll work on some motion graphics, then maybe some visual effects, maybe they work on a medical animation or a little visualization for some architecture. It's hard to pin some of them down because they're artists, and they're going to take the work that they do. Some of them specialize, like those guys, definitely start getting pigeonholed in the FUI work that they do. But I know many artists who bridge all those industries because they're just creating great imagery that tells a story or sends a message that these clients need.
Can you talk about VR for just a second, what you see in workflows and how it's developing?
Sure. It's interesting. I was talking to somebody last night about VR and was saying last year everybody was buzzing about VR, and there were so many clients that wanted VR, but they weren't sure what they were going to do with it. It was like, okay, I've got some VR, and you can come and look at it, and where does that take you to? What's the advantage? Where you're driving the audience to? And at the Media Motion Ball last night, there were a couple of people I talked to who said, they're starting to define a little bit more what they're trying to do with it. A lot of it's location-based entertainment. It's additions to things like in zoos or aquariums or observatories and those types of things where they're having those types of exhibits. And so location-based seems to be taking off quite a bit more. And we talked about the difficulties of telling story, or how does motion graphics come into it? How does the motion graphics information come into the VR experience? Which way are the people looking, and how do you get them looking the right way to tell that story properly? And I think that's still evolving. I have a sneaking suspicion that augmented reality will overshadow VR fairly soon, as that becomes more the delivery method becomes more palatable. We're already seeing applications where people can go on tours and look through their phone, and it provides them information about where they are. Motion graphics pop up and give them little information about the building or where they're going, or direct them to the next part of the city you want to go see, and those types of things. But there isn't a standard application yet. There's a few really nice ones out there, but there isn't a standard, it's already loaded up on your phone and automatically recognizes where you are. So I think as that comes about, AR will definitely surpass VR very quickly, and we'll all be talking about that in the next couple of years, about artists creating AR, because everybody's going to want it. I'm going to want to hold up my phone and see where you bought your glasses, and that's where I can buy them, and click on it and order them. And
it's pretty cool.
Yeah,
actually.
you got to imagine it's gonna happen.
Yeah. Very cool. Paul, thank you for stopping by.
Thank you for having me.
I appreciate it. And tell people where they can go to find out more about what you do.
Yes. If you want to go watch our presentations that are at the show, you can go to c4dlive.com. And if you want to find out about Cinema 4D, just go to maxon.net.